I'm in a novel, and of all the times to get dropped into the story, it had to be this exact moment. The absolute worst moment. The moment the original schmuck I'm now inhabiting slides a divorce agreement in front of his wife, trying to trick her into signing it. He's the kind of guy who'd get cheated on, framed, and beaten up, and then just stand there with a pained smile, taking it all without a fight. A world-class simp, pure and simple. But I'm not him. The only problem? My new wife, the one I'm trying to divorce, can apparently hear every single thought in my head. My name is Ethan Vance, and I'm so screwed. The scene in front of me is both familiar and surreal. A lavish CEO's office, with a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the cloud-piercing skyline of New York City. A woman sits across from me. Her tailored white suit does little to hide the kind of curves that could start a war. Her dark hair is pinned up, revealing the pale, slender line of her neck. Her face is a masterpiece, sculpted by a god who is clearly showing off, but her eyes are frozen over. Isabella Thorne, my wife, and, according to the novel, the primary female antagonist. The one who gets duped by her childhood sweetheart, relentlessly tortures the original protagonist, me, and ends up ruined and alone after he finally gets his act together and crushes her. Right now, those glacial eyes are fixed on me, and they're screaming one word: disgust. In my hand is a document. Divorce agreement. The script is playing out perfectly. The original Ethan, a simp of the highest order, finally got fed up after being framed by Isabella's one that got away, Caleb Prescott. His reputation was in tatters, his heart was broken, and he decided to call it quits. But he still held onto a pathetic sliver of hope that she might ask him to stay. So he chose the dumbest possible method, trying to sneak the signature out of her. I'm not the original Ethan. Simp? Not in my vocabulary. I just want to get this divorce over with, take the generous severance package that's legally mine, and disappear. Gym, good food, a little small batch bourbon I've been aging. I just want to live my life. Isn't that a million times better than being some lovesick puppy? Damn, the author really played favorites with her. That face, that body. She's a walking goddess. Too bad she's an ice queen with the emotional intelligence of a rock. The second she signs this, I'm calling Aria for a reservation. I've been dreaming about their 14-course tasting menu for months. Oh, and that bourbon I've been aging should be just about perfect. Life's too short to drink cheap booze, right? I kept my inner monologue cheerful, but on the outside, I wore the original Ethan's trademark expression. The kick puppy, my life is over grimace. Isabella, just sign it. My voice was a gravelly whisper, perfectly calibrated to convey the despair of a heartbroken man. Acting? I'm a professional. Isabella's brow furrowed, just barely. She held an expensive-looking fountain pen, its nib hovering over the paper, hesitating. Weird. According to the book, she should have signed it without a second thought and tossed it back at me like a piece of trash. What was the holdup? Come on, lady, sign the thing. What are you waiting for? Was my sad sack routine not convincing enough? No way. I'm pretty sure I deserve an Oscar for this performance. If you don't hurry up, Aria is going to be fully booked. My tasting menu. The hand holding the pen trembled. She looked up, and for the first time, I saw something other than disgust in those icy eyes. Was it confusion? And a flicker of something that looked suspiciously like disbelief? She was staring at me again. I immediately countered with a pained, soulful look that screamed, even though I'm dying inside, I'm doing this for your happiness. What are you looking at? Never seen a handsome guy before? I mean, this face is ridiculously good-looking. And the 8-pack and V-line abs underneath this shirt? TSK, you're the one who's been lucky. Hurry it up. I got a life of leisure to get to. You can go run off with your precious Caleb, and I'll go my own way. Let's make this a clean break so I can get to dinner. Puffed. A tiny sound escaped her lips. I must have misheard. Did the Ice Queen of Thorne Industries just laugh? She quickly composed herself, but I could have sworn a hairline crack appeared in the glacier of her expression. This agreement, she said, her voice cool, but no longer dripping with that Arctic frost. I'll need some time to think about it. What? The word flew out of my mouth. This wasn't in the script. Think about it? Think about what? What the hell is there to think about? Weren't you dying for me to get lost? Didn't your idiotic first love, Caleb, just whisper in your ear yesterday that I stole company's secrets? You believed him, didn't you? So what's with the sudden change of heart? Isabella's face instantly darkened. Her eyes flashed with a dangerous light. What did Caleb say to you? A cold dread washed over me. Something was wrong. How could she know what I was thinking unless? A ridiculous, impossible idea popped into my head. To test it, I decided to take a risk. Isabella Thorne is a moron. All beauty, no brains. Isabella's knuckles turned white as she gripped the pen. Her beautiful face was now a mask of pure frost, and she looked like she was about to have me flash frozen and shattered. Isabella Thorne is the most beautiful woman in the world. She's kind, gentle, and utterly adorable. The frost on her face visibly thawed. Her expression was still tense, but the murderous intent in her eyes had definitely faded. I got it. I totally, completely got it. The universe had a sixth sense of humor. I've been dropped into a novel with a cheat code that let the female lead hear my thoughts. This wasn't a cheat code. This was a goddamn death warrant. I looked at Isabella's rapidly changing expression, and my blood ran cold. Oh, I am so boned. Didn't I just call her a brainless ice queen a minute ago? There goes my tasting menu. There goes my bourbon. There goes my beautiful, peaceful life of doing absolutely nothing. I was on the verge of tears. About the divorce, Isabella said suddenly, her voice laced with a strange, almost imperceptible amusement. I am refusing. She took the agreement, folded it, and locked it in a desk drawer. Then she stood up, walked around the desk, and stood over me. A pleasant, cool fragrance drifted into my nose. Smells nice. Wait, is this really the time to be thinking about that? What's she going to do? Have me whacked? Isabella reached out, a single finger gently tilting my chin up. Her fingertip was cool, but her skin was incredibly soft. Ethan Vance, she said, her eyes narrowing like an elegant leopardess stalking its prey. From this day forward, you're not to mention the word divorce again without my permission. Why? I asked, the word escaping before I could stop it. Why? Because I've just discovered that you are far more interesting than I ever imagined. She didn't say that last part out loud, but I heard it, clear as a bell, right inside my head. My pupils dilated. No way. I can hear her thoughts now. I could hear Isabella's thoughts. That revelation was even more shocking than the fact that she could hear mine. The world had officially gone insane. Are we paired with Bluetooth now? This man is fascinating. On the surface, he looks like he's about to throw himself off a bridge, but in his head, he's planning a tasting menu and cracking open a bottle of bourbon. And he called me all beauty, no brains. I'll deal with you for that later. Her thoughts echoed in my mind, laced with a pouty, almost childish annoyance. This did not match her Ice Queen CEO persona at all. I stared at her face, so close to mine, and saw my own dumbfounded expression reflected in her gorgeous eyes. Because Isabella cleared her throat, pulling her hand back and resuming her chilly demeanor. Our marriage is tied to the partnership between Thorne Industries and the Vance family. A divorce right now would cause market instability. Such an official, boring reason. If I couldn't hear her thoughts, I might have actually bought it. I need a reason to keep him around for now. I want to see what other bizarre things are rattling around in that head of his. And an 8-pack. And a V-line. Is that true? I might have to verify that tonight. Lady, you are not okay. Those are dangerous thoughts. I instinctively squeeze my legs together and cross my arms over my chest. What are you doing? My defensive posture seemed to startle her. What's with that reaction? Does he think I'm some kind of predator? Although, he's kind of cute. Cute? Me? My mouth twitched. Cute my ass. I'm just trying to protect my virtue so I can go eat that tasting menu. Nothing, I said dryly. I'm just a little cold. The central air in the office was blasting warm air. Even I didn't believe that excuse. Isabella gave me a long, meaningful look but didn't press the issue. There's a gala tonight. You're coming with me, she said, turning back to her desk. I don't. It's not a discussion. She didn't even look up, her tone absolute. Caleb will be there. This is a perfect chance to see if what Ethan was thinking about Caleb framing him is true. If Caleb really dared to pull something like that right under my nose. A chilling coldness emanated from her thoughts. I got it. She was taking me for a live confrontation. Interesting. If I couldn't get a divorce just yet, I might as well get rid of that pest Caleb. Otherwise, who knows what kind of trouble he'd stir up later, interrupting my life of leisure. Fine, Inojid. That evening, the Thorne family's limousine pulled up in front of a top-tier private club. I followed Isabella into the glittering, opulent hall. As the son-in-law who married into the Thorne family, the original Ethan was a running joke in this social circle. The moment we appeared, countless eyes turned our way, a mix of curiosity, contempt, and outright amusement. Isn't that the Thorne's useless son-in-law? What's he doing here? I heard Isabella has wanted to divorce him for ages. Why is she still dragging him around? probably using him as a shield. Caleb Prescott is here tonight, after all. The whispers buzzed around us like flies. I kept my face blank, but my mind was a raging storm of commentary. A bunch of gossiping hyenas. Don't they have anything better to do? They could all stand to read a book. Still, Isabella's dress tonight is something else. That deep blue makes her skin look like porcelain. Is the neckline a little low, though? Walking in front of me, Isabella's pace faltered for a fraction of a second. Without breaking stride, she subtly adjusted the perfectly smooth collar of her dress. You jealous idiot. Her thought was tinged with a smile. My face flushed. Who's jealous? I was making a critical, aesthetic observation. Just then, a handsome man in a crisp white suit approached, a glass of champagne in his hand. He had a gentle, refined air about him. Caleb Prescott, the novel's antagonist, Isabella's one that got away, and the guy who had metaphorically screwed me over more times than I could count. Isabella, you're here. Caleb's gaze landed on her, soft and affectionate. When his eyes shifted to me, they turned instantly cold and dismissive. Why did you bring him? This isn't his kind of scene. Here we go. The classic attempt to drive a wedge between us. According to the original plot, Isabella would coldly tell me to go stand in a corner and not embarrass her. Then, the original Ethan would sulk, drink alone, and watch the two of them flirt. I lower my head, putting on my best impression of a man, feeling small and ashamed. All right, let the show begin. Let's see how you try to slander me in front of my wife. This moron has no idea that all his pathetic little schemes are as transparent as a child's game to me. Next, he's going to accidentally spill red wine on me, then give a fake apology while implying I'm low-class and unworthy of Isabella. It's a classic move. So predictable. Isabella, holding her own glass of champagne, paused. Her gaze on Caleb sharpened. Caleb, she said flatly, Ethan is my husband. His presence here is perfectly appropriate. What gives you the right to comment on my family matters? The smile on Caleb's face froze. He looked like he just swallowed a bug. He clearly hadn't expected Isabella, who was usually so indulgent with him, to publicly humiliate him for my sake. Isabella, that's not what I meant. I was just concerned about you, Caleb stammered, his eyes full of hurt. Great actor. Master of the guilt trip. Oh, here come the puppy dog eyes. Anyone who didn't know better would think my wife just kicked his dog. Too bad for you, buddy. My wife has me providing a live commentary track now. Who do you think you're fooling? His next move will be to target me directly. I wonder which it'll be, accidentally bumping into me or casually bringing up some embarrassing story from my past. As if on cue, Caleb's gaze shifted to me. A flicker of malice crossed his face before being replaced by a friendly smile. Ethan, my man, long time no see. I heard you've taken up brewing? A man needs a career of his own, you know. Can't always rely on Isabella. He raised his glass and started walking toward me. It's happening. I bet my life that his next move involves a slip and a glass of red wine, baptizing my suit. Isabella took a small, deliberate step to her side, placing herself squarely between me and Caleb. My husband doesn't need you to tell him how to live his life. Her voice was ice. Caleb stopped dead in his tracks. The surrounding guests craned their necks, their eyes burning with the fire of gossip. This was way more entertaining than a live band. Was Isabella Thorne defending her useless husband? Had hell frozen over? Nice one, honey. Shut him down. Let him know who's boss. But just shutting him down isn't enough. He needs to be publicly humiliated. He wants to spill wine on me, does he? How about? A mischievous idea popped into my head. At almost the exact same moment, Isabella moved. With a seemingly careless flick of her wrist, the champagne in her glass arced through the air and landed with perfect precision on the front of Caleb's pants. Oh, I'm so sorry. My hand slipped, Isabella said, her tone utterly devoid of apology. Her hand slipped? Honey, that was a goddamn bullseye. Ha ha, look at him. He's going to be famous for all the wrong reasons tonight. Look at his face. It's going from red to purple to black. It's like a living mood ring. This is fantastic. I was dying of laughter on the inside, but my face showed nothing but alarm. I quickly pulled a napkin from my pocket and rushed toward him. Mr. Prescott, are you okay? Here, let me help you with that. Caleb looked down. A large, dark, and very awkwardly placed wet spot stained his expensive trousers. A wave of suppressed snickers rippled through the crowd. His face turned a deep, furious shade of crimson. Isabella, he hissed through clenched teeth, his charming facade completely shattered. Yes? Is there a problem, Caleb? She asked, raising an eyebrow. her powerful presence filling the space. Or would you like me to buy you a new pair of pants? Buy them? How about we just burn them for him? I added silently. Caleb was trembling with rage, but was utterly speechless. He shot me a venomous glare, as if I were the mastermind, then clutched his crotch and fled the hall amidst a chorus of muffled laughter. Crisis averted. I looked at Isabella, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. My wife is a total badass. 10 out of 10 for that move. So cool, so decisive. I think I'm in love. Shame about the champagne, though. Looked like a good vintage. Hearing my thoughts, the corners of Isabella's lips twitched upward before she suppressed the smile. She turned and shot me a cold look. You think this is funny? Look at him, grinning like an idiot. Not at all. Not at all, I said, shaking my head with a somber expression. I feel terrible for Mr. Prescott. Isabella just stared at me. I believe you about as much as I believe in Santa Claus. She said nothing more and turned toward the buffet. I scurried after her. Humiliating my rival was great and all, but food was the real priority. The Maine lobster and caviar were calling my name. I grabbed a plate and began my assault. Isabella stood nearby, sipping a glass of juice, her brow furrowing deeper with every mountain of food I piled onto my plate. Was he a starving ghost in a past life? If he eats that fast, he's going to choke. Fine. I'll get him some water. Just as I stuffed the last piece of foie gras in my mouth, a bottle of water appeared in front of me. It was Isabella. Eat slower, she said, her face a familiar mask of indifference. I paused, then took the bottle. Thanks, honey. Heh, for an ice queen, she's pretty caring. Isabella's ears turned a vibrant shade of pink. She looked away a little too quickly. Who's caring for you? I just don't want you choking to death and embarrassing me. All bark and no bite. It's actually kind of adorable. Her face got even redder. Just then, a stern voice cut through the air. Isabella, there you are. It was her father, the chairman of Thorne Industries, Robert Thorne. He was flanked by a few of the company's old guard, all of whom were glaring at me with open disapproval. Robert's eyes swept over my plate, which was piled high enough to be its own centerpiece, and his frown deepened. Ethan, what do you think you're doing? You're an embarrassment to the Thorne name. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of authority, instantly drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Here we go again. The public shaming session. In the book, every time this happened, the original Ethan would be dragged over the coals by his father-in-law, while Isabella watched on, sometimes even adding her own criticisms to drive the point home. I put down my fork and stood there meekly, the very picture of a man ready to take his verbal lashing. Sigh. The path to a life of leisure is paved with so many obstacles. The old man's probably cranky because of that overseas merger. It's giving him headaches, so he's taking it out on me. Totally understandable. Too bad that merger is a complete scam. The target company cooked its books. Its assets are wildly overvalued. If Thorne Industries buys it, they'll lose at least $3 billion within 3 months. But hey, who's going to listen to me, the useless son-in-law? Oh well, if he wants to lose his money, that's his business. I'm just going to think about what I want for a late-night snack. I was lost in my own analysis, completely missing the fact that Isabella's expression had changed dramatically. A sharp, calculating light glinted in her eyes. Robert was still ranting. Look at Caleb Prescott. Young, successful. Then look at you, a complete waste of space. I don't know what Isabella was thinking when she married you. Dad! Isabella's voice cut him off. It wasn't loud, but it was filled with an unshakable authority. Ethan is my husband. To speak to him like this in front of everyone. What does that say about me? What does that say about the Thorne family? The entire hall fell silent. Everyone froze, staring at Isabella in disbelief. Robert was stunned. He pointed a trembling finger at his daughter. You talking back to me? For this. This loser. He is not a loser, Isabella said, each word clear and firm. He is my husband, Ethan Vance. I stood beside her, watching her small but incredibly resolute back, and felt something shift inside me. Whoa, badass wife is in the house. Is she publicly defending me? I'm touched. Seriously. As a reward, I'm ordering you a late-night snack tonight. From that little bakery you love, the Sweet Spot. I'll even get you that ridiculous strawberry cheesecake you like, even though I think it's sickeningly sweet. Isabella's posture stiffened almost imperceptibly. This idiot. Who wants his stupid snack? Wait, how do you know I like the cheesecake from the Sweet Spot? I've never told a soul. Her thoughts were a swirl of confusion. Of course I knew. It was in the book. The Ice Queen CEO's one secret weakness was dessert, specifically the strawberry cheesecake from a tiny boutique bakery called the Sweet Spot. Robert was speechless, his face flushed with anger. The old board members with him quickly tried to smooth things over. Mr. Chairman, Isabella has a point. Let's discuss family matters at home. Yes, yes, we have guests. Robert grunted, shot me one last withering glare, and stormed off. The storm had passed for now. Isabella turned to face me. Thank you for that, I said, and I meant it. For what? She replied, her icy mask back in place. I was just protecting the Thorne family's reputation. It wasn't for you. Now what was it he was thinking about the merger? Cooked books? A $3 billion loss. How could he possibly know that? Her thoughts revealed her true concerns. Looks like her old man's $3 billion might be safe after all. I decided to add a little more fuel to the fire. What a shame. The guy leading that merger is Vice President Maxwell, Caleb's uncle. If this deal goes through, Maxwell's position will be unshakable, and Caleb will get a nice boost too. I bet they're working together, just waiting for the old man to walk right into their trap. Oh well, not my problem. Back to the food. Pretending I hadn't a care in the world, I picked up my plate and grabbed a giant shrimp. Isabella's face was now a thundercloud. Without another word, she spun on her heel and walked away, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. I knew where she was going, to find her father. I leisurely ate my shrimp, feeling pretty pleased with myself, hiding my skills while getting everything done. This was the true art of living a lazy life. Let everyone else run the rat race. I'll just enjoy the results. An hour later, the gala ended. In the car on the way back, Isabella was silent, her face turned toward the window. Dad didn't believe me. What kind of spell have Caleb and Maxwell put on him? Is what Ethan said really true? Should I trust him? But how could he, a man who does nothing all day, know about the details of a top-secret corporate merger? Her mind was a tangled mess. I could understand why. On one side, her trusted father and childhood friend. On the other, the useless husband she despised for 3 years. It was a tough choice for anyone. That merger, I said, deciding to give her a final push. You should look into the target company's cash flow. Specifically, their transactions with a few overseas shell corporations. You'll find a surprise. I closed my eyes, feigning sleep. Isabella whipped her head around to stare at me. How did he know that's what I was thinking about? Who is he? The car fell into a tense, eerie silence. When we got home, Isabella went straight to her study and locked the door. Fine by me. I took a shower, flopped onto the bed, and prepared to enjoy my well-earned rest. Shut down Caleb. Save my father-in-law from a $3 billion mistake. That's a lot of brain power for one day. I need to recharge. I wonder if Isabella believed me. Oh well, I told her what she needs to know. It's her dad's money, not mine. Just as I was drifting off, the bedroom door opened. Isabella glided in, wearing a silk robe, a glass of milk in her hand. The soft light made her skin glow, her silhouette a tantalizing suggestion beneath the fabric. I swallowed hard. Look away, look away. I'm a gentleman. But, damn. Isabella paused for a second, a faint blush dusting her cheeks. She came to the bedside and held out the milk. Drink this. Her voice was still cool. I don't drink milk, I said honestly. Milk this late? I'll have to get up to pee in the middle of the night. What you planning? Is she trying to poison me and inherit my... Wait, I don't have anything to inherit. Isabella's eye twitched. A vein throbbed at her temple. This idiot. I saw he barely ate at the gala, and I was worried he'd be hungry. No good deed goes unpunished. Her thoughts were practically shouting with frustration. I blinked. So that was it. A strange warmth spread through my chest. I took the glass and downed it in one go. Thanks, honey. Isabella didn't reply. She just took the empty glass and turned to leave. Wait, I called out. She looked back, her expression questioning. Did you check? She was silent for a few seconds, then nodded. Vice President Maxwell has been suspended, pending an investigation. I used my highest clearance to have a Swiss audit team review their books overnight. It was exactly as Ethan said. 3 sets of fake financial records, 5 shell corporations used to embezzle funds. If he hadn't warned me, Thorne Industries would have been ruined. How? How did he know? Her mind was a tempest of shock. Oh, I said, my tone as casual as if she just commented on the weather. If you're going to be a secret genius, you have to play it cool. Isabella stared at me, trying to read my face, but all she found was my default expression, the face of a man who was proud to be useless. Ethan, she finally said, unable to hold it in any longer. Who are you? I'm your husband. I replied with an innocent look. Who else would I be? Just a normal guy who wants to live a lazy life. She obviously didn't buy it. A normal guy? A normal guy can see through a $3 billion corporate fraud scheme at a glance. A normal guy knows all of Caleb's dirty tricks. He has a secret. Her thoughts crashed into my mind like a tsunami. She sat down on the edge of my bed. That clean, fresh scent filled the air again. I tensed up. What's she doing? Why is she sitting on my bed? It's not that big. She's not really going to check if I have an 8-pack, is she? We can talk about this like civilized adults. No touching. Ethan. Isabella leaned in close. Her warm breath tickled my ear. You what? My heart was hammering against my ribs. She reached out. Just as I thought she was about to make her move, her hand went past me and picked up my phone from the nightstand. Is your secret in here? I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Thank God. An abdominal inspection was not on my agenda for the evening. What secrets could be on my phone? A few food bloggers, some fitness influencers, and the contact info for my ridiculously competent team. Oh, right, the team. Before I got dropped into this novel, I was a hands-off kind of boss. My subordinates were all workaholics who could get anything done with minimal direction. When I landed here, I managed to get in touch with them. Turns out, they all came with me, and they've already established themselves as hidden titans in their respective fields. The head of that Swiss audit team who helped Isabella, that was my former head of finance, codename Cypher. The hacker who broke into Caleb's computer last time, my former CTO, codename Spectre. I told him to keep a low profile and not to expose me. So my phone was squeaky clean. Be my guest, I said, spreading my hands in a gesture of complete openness. Isabella eyed me suspiciously and started scrolling through my phone. Contact, anti, messaging apps, clean, photo gallery, a few landscape pictures, nothing else. She frowned, swiping back and forth, clearly not finding what she was looking for. There's really nothing here. Impossible. Just then my phone buzzed. A notification popped up on the screen. Boss, the complete dirt file on the Prescott Corporation is ready. Do you want them bankrupt by tomorrow or the day after? Zinda, Spectre. The air in the room turned to ice. I'm a dead man. That was the only thought in my head. I watched as Isabella's eyes widened, her expression shifting from confusion to shock, to dawning realization, and finally settling on a look of intense, complex scrutiny. She slowly raised her head to look at me. Her gaze was like she was staring at a prehistoric monster wearing a sheepskin coat. Boss. Spectre? As in, the legendary hacker who single-handedly crashed the Wall Street trading system. Bankrupt by tomorrow, or the day after? So, it wasn't me who took down Caleb, and it wasn't me who exposed Maxwell. He's been pulling the strings from the very beginning. Her thoughts crashed into my mind like a tsunami. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Well, that's it. My cover was blown. Completely. My peaceful, lazy life was officially over. Gohani, let me explain. It's a misunderstanding. Explain what? How you explain this? Tell her it's a new kind of spam message. Spectre, that idiot. I told him to be discreet. Discreet. Does he think my instructions are just suggestions? I'm docking his bonus. Definitely. Isabella didn't speak. She just handed the phone back to me, her eyes locked on mine. So, she finally said, her voice soft but hitting me like a sledgehammer, "You've been lying to me this whole time." I haven't. I blurted out. You've been playing a role. I had no response to that. You watched me get fooled by Caleb, watch my family nearly walk into a financial disaster, and you thought it was funny. Her voice trembled with a hint of hurt. So he knew. He knew everything. He was like a god on a throne, watching us mortals perform like clowns for his amusement. In his eyes, I must be a complete and utter fool. Her thoughts hit me like a punch to the gut. This was bad. I messed up. I hadn't just blown my cover. I'd hurt her. No, I said, grabbing her wrist. It wasn't funny. How could I possibly explain this? Hey, I'm from another dimension, and I read your life story in a book. She had me committed. I racked my brain for a plausible excuse. I was just lazy. Lazy, she repeated, stunned. Yeah, lazy, I said, deciding to just roll with it. I'm too lazy to bother with idiots like Caleb. I'm too lazy to care about corporate drama. All I want to do is eat good food and sleep in. The only reason I said anything is because I was afraid you'd actually bankrupt the company and I wouldn't have any money for food. It was a ridiculous reason, but it was the closest thing to the truth I could come up with. Isabella stared at me, her eyes boring into me as if trying to see into my soul. After a long moment, she let out a small laugh. Not a polite, fake laugh. Not a cold, mocking one. A genuine, honest-to-God laugh, like the sound of ice cracking in the spring. It was only for a moment, but it was breathtaking. I was mesmerized. Lazy, he let a multi-billion-dollar corporation nearly go under. Because he was lazy, he watched his wife get played by another man. Because he was lazy. What kind of logic is that? This man is an unbelievable jerk. But why am I not even angry? Why do I kind of find him adorable? Her thoughts left me completely bewildered again. The mind of a woman is a mysterious thing. I act like a complete degenerate, and she finds me adorable? Was she a masochist? So, Isabella said, composing herself, the ice gone from her eyes for good. Spectre, Cypher, and the legendary PR Queen Muse, and the investment genius Midas. They all work for you. Yes, no point in denying it now. And you have them all hiding out in New York City. Why? To deliver my takeout. I ventured. Isabella just stared. I believe you about as much as I believe I can fly. This man doesn't have an honest bone in his body. But, seeing as he saved me from a massive disaster today, I'll let it slide. For now. She stood up, looking down at me. Ethan, I don't care what your grand plan is. From now on, you own half of Thorn Industries. My eyes widened in horror. What did she just say? Wait, half the company. Does that mean I have to work? No, I don't want to work. Working is not fun. My life of leisure. I screamed in agony. Silently, of course. Isabella saw the color drain from my face, and a mischievous smile played on her lips. What? You don't like the offer? I hate it. Objection overruled, she said, turning toward the door. Board meeting tomorrow at 9. I'll see you there. No, honey, I was wrong. I'm not lazy anymore. I'll be diligent. I'll do anything. Please, don't make me go to work. I scrambled off the bed and latched onto her leg like a koala. There was no way I was going to an office. Not in this lifetime. Isabella looked down at me, clinging to her leg for dear life, and the smile she'd been holding back finally broke free. Oomph. Knew I could handle you. The next morning, I was dragged out of bed by Isabella, bundled into my clothes, and stuffed into the car. I leaned my head against the window, watching the city streak by with the listless eyes of a man on his way to the gallows. Oh, cruel world. All I wanted was to be a useless bum. Why is that so hard? A board meeting. It sounds so long and boring. A bunch of old guys arguing about spreadsheets. I'd rather be at home perfecting my recipe for braised short ribs. Beside me, Isabella sat with her eyes closed, feigning rest. But her fluttering eyelashes and the barely there curve of her lips gave her away. He looks so miserable. It's hilarious. I can't wait to see the board's faces when he walks in. This is going to be fun. Fun for who? I could already feel the tidal wave of angry spittle from the old geezers about to drown me. Thorn Industries boardroom. The long, elliptical table was packed. Besides Robert Thorn, the chairs were filled with the company's oldest board members, all of them in severe suits, radiating disapproval. When Isabella led me into the room, a hush fell over the assembly. Every single pair of eyes locked onto me. I could feel the contempt, the disdain, the sheer fury. Isabella, what is the meaning of this? This is a board meeting. Why did you bring this? This waste of space here. A bald man slammed his hand on the table, his face red with anger. This was one of the company's founders, Mr. Henderson, a key ally of Caleb's faction. Mr. Henderson, please watch your tone, Isabella said coolly, taking her seat at the head of the table. Ethan is now the second largest shareholder in Thorn Industries. He has every right to be here. What? Her words were a bomb. The room exploded. Second largest shareholder? Isabella, have you lost your mind? You gave him your shares. This is insanity. An absolute outrage. What right does he have? Robert, are you just going to sit there and let her do this? All eyes turned to her father. Robert Thorn looked deeply unhappy. When Isabella had told him her plan the night before, he nearly had a heart attack. But he also knew that, without me, the company would have suffered a catastrophic loss. He couldn't figure me out. So he said nothing. Go ahead, argue. The louder the better. It'll be like a white noise machine for my nap. I found an empty chair in the corner, sat down, and let out a loud yawn, looking like I could fall asleep at any moment. My cavalier attitude was the last straw for the old guard. Look at him. What a disgrace. Henderson yelled, pointing a trembling finger at me. If the company is in his hands, we're finished. Mr. Henderson, I said, lazily opening my eyes. Are you done? You, what kind of attitude is that? Because if you're done, it's my turn. I ignored him, stood up, and walked to the front of the room where a large projector screen was mounted. I took out my phone and connected it to the projector. A second later, the screen lit up with 5 years' worth of the Prescott Corporation's dirty laundry. Financial loopholes, fraudulent contracts, evidence of massive tax evasion. It was all there. Every line item was enough to sink them forever. You could have heard a pin drop in the boardroom. The sheer volume of incriminating evidence had stunned them all into silence. What? What is this? Henderson stammered, pointing at the screen, his face pale. This, I said, turning to face them all, a lazy smile on my face, is a little welcome gift for the board. As of today, I don't want to see the Prescott Corporation operating in this city ever again. My voice was quiet, but it held an undeniable, absolute authority. This is so annoying. The things I have to do to protect my lazy lifestyle. Hopefully, this will shut them all up for good, so they'll leave me alone. God, I'm so sleepy. Isabella was watching me, her beautiful eyes shining with a strange, brilliant light. This man, when he's serious, he's ridiculously handsome. My heart, it's beating a little fast. Her thoughts were music to my ears. I shot her a quick wink. She immediately looked away like a startled deer, but I didn't miss the blush creeping up her neck. The rest of the meeting was a foregone conclusion. In the face of overwhelming power, all objections crumbled to dust. Ethan Vance, the live-in son-in-law, had officially and forcefully arrived. After the meeting, I ran into someone unexpected in the executive dining room. Chloe Miller, a girl in a simple white dress, her long hair falling over her shoulders with an aura as gentle as a spring breeze. She was the original novel's main heroine, the kind-hearted angel who helps the protagonist rise to the top. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Vance?" she asked, her eyes lighting up as she approached me. "My name is Chloe Miller. I'm the head chef at Aria. I've heard so much about you." The head chef at Aria? My tasting menu. My eyes lit up to Ms. Miller, a pleasure, I said, my voice suddenly warm as I extended a hand. When a foodie meets a top chef, a good relationship is essential. Chloe seemed a bit flustered, a blush rising on her cheeks as she gave my hand a light shake. "Mr. Vance, I read your article in Gourmet magazine. Your insights on classic cuisine were so brilliant. I'm a huge admirer." "Me? Publish an article?" "Oh, right. My overachieving subordinates. They were determined to build me a gourmand persona and submitted some of my ramblings behind my back. I can't believe it actually got published. I understood completely, but I put on an expression of profound wisdom. I dabble." Just then, an icy glare shot across the room like a laser beam. I turned to see Isabella standing a few feet away, holding a tray, watching us with a completely neutral expression. They're holding hands. They've been holding hands for a long time. Who is that woman? She's looking at him like a starstruck teenager. And Ethan is smiling at her. He's never smiled at me like that. Warning bells started screaming in my head. The air suddenly smelled very, very sour. Was she jealous? I immediately dropped Chloe's hand and took a step back, my face a mask of professional decorum. "Ms. Miller, you're too kind. If you'll excuse me, I have to run." I practically fled to Isabella's side. "Honey, what are you getting? Let me carry that for you," I said, eagerly taking her tray. Isabella sniffed, ignored me, and walked toward an empty table. I trailed after her like a puppy. "Honey, why aren't you talking to me?" "Humph, I don't want to talk to you. Are you mad at me?" "No, you're definitely mad. I can practically taste the jealousy. You're the jealous one. I'm not mad." Her thoughts were a hilarious mix of pride and denial. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. So this is what the Ice Queen looks like when she's jealous. It was adorable. Chloe, sensing the awkward atmosphere, hesitated for a moment before carrying her tray over to our table. "Ms. Thorne, Mr. Vance." She offered a polite greeting. "Ms. Miller, can we help you with something?" I asked politely. "Well, Mr. Vance, we're developing a new dish at Aria, and I was hoping you and Ms. Thorne might be willing to come for a tasting and give us your feedback," she said, her eyes full of hopeful expectation. "A new dish? For free? A free meal at Aria? Of course I'm going," my heart sang with joy. "We're busy." A cold voice shattered my dreams. It was Isabella. She hadn't even looked at Chloe. Chloe's face fell. "But," I said, "we're busy. Isabella repeated, her tone hardening as an invisible pressure filled the air around her. Trying to hit on my husband? Not on my watch. Ethan is mine. Hearing that possessive, domineering CEO-style declaration in my head made me preen. But seeing Chloe look like she was about to cry made me feel a little guilty. She was just a fan of my talent, and more importantly, my future delicious meals were on the line. Honey, I whispered, leaning close to Isabella's ear. Don't be so mean. You're going to make her cry. Besides, this is Arya. Don't you love their tiramisu? Isabella froze. She whipped her head around to look at me, her eyes wide with shock. How does he know that? Not even my mother knows I love tiramisu. Go or not, it's up to you, I said with a shrug, pretending I didn't care. I'm going either way. Good food waits for no one. I stood up and smiled at Chloe. Ms. Miller, I accept your invitation. Just text me the time and place. Then, under Isabella's murderous gaze, I picked up my tray and moved to the table farthest away from her. A little reverse psychology. It was the only way to handle a stubborn, proud woman like her. I ate my lunch while secretly watching her. She sat alone, her food untouched, just glaring at me. That jerk. He's defying me for another woman. And for food. Am I less important than a meal to him? I'm so angry. But I really want to go. Tiramisu. I saw her swallow just once. I smiled. Fish on the hook. That weekend, in Arya's most exclusive private dining room. When I arrived, Chloe was already waiting by the door. Mr. Vance, you're here. She was wearing a pale yellow dress that made her look even more gentle and sweet. Sorry to keep you waiting. Not at all. Is Ms. Thorne with you? She asked, looking past me. She should be here any second. I wasn't sure myself. Knowing Isabella and her pride, she'd probably arrive exactly on time, managing to get her food while maintaining her aloof image. As if on cue, Isabella's silhouette appeared at the end of the hall. She'd swapped her usual suit for a black, floor-length dress that flowed around her as she walked. She looked like a black rose blooming in the night, elegant and mysterious. At least he had the decency to wait for me. And look at Chloe, dressed up like a canary. What is she trying to pull? Honey, you dressed up too. Ms. Thorne. Chloe was clearly intimidated by Isabella's presence and offered a timid greeting. Isabella just gave a curt nod, then with practiced ease, looped her arm through mine. The movement was so smooth, you'd think she did it every day. I stiffened. The soft warmth of her arm pressed against mine, and her unique fragrance filled my senses. I could feel my face getting hot. Time to declare my sovereignty. Let everyone here know that Ethan Vance is my man. Her thoughts were as bold and direct as ever. Chloe's bright expression dimmed. She forced a smile and led us into the private room. The dishes arrived one after another, each a work of art. It was a spectacular meal, and I enjoyed every bite. Isabella, however, barely ate. She sipped her tea, her gaze flickering between me and Chloe. Chloe was a fantastic host, explaining each dish from the origin of the ingredients to the complex cooking techniques. Mr. Vance, you have to try this consommé. We use chicken, ham, and scallops to create a broth that simmers for 8 hours. It looks simple, but in fact, he doesn't like consommé. A cold voice cut Chloe off. It was Isabella. Chloe blinked. Oh, but he likes meat, the richer the better. He loves spicy food, the hotter the better. And he has a sweet tooth, but only for dessert after a meal, Isabella stated, her tone slow and deliberate, as if she were reciting fact from an encyclopedia. I was stunned. How did she know all that? I hadn't even realized that about myself. Trying to steal my man? You got a lot to learn. I've memorized everything about him. Hearing that, my hand, which was holding a piece of braised short rib, froze mid-air. My chest felt like it was filled with honey. This woman, Chloe's face flushed, a picture of embarrassment. I'm so sorry, Ms. Thorne, it's fine, I jumped in. My wife. She knows me pretty well. I gave Isabella a conspiratorial wink. She shot back a look that said, you're damn right I do, then picked up a piece of the rich, fatty short rib, a dish she would never touch, and placed it in my bowl. Eat up. Her voice was so gentle, it was almost a caress. I knew she was putting on a show for Chloe, but my stupid heart fluttered anyway. The rest of the meal passed in a tense but fascinating current of underhanded remarks and possessive gestures. After the main course, Chloe brought out the tiramisu she'd made herself. Isabella's eyes lit up instantly, but she maintained her cool composure, taking only small, delicate bites. Delicious, This is so good. I wish I could eat this every day. Watching her look of restrained bliss, an idea struck me. Ms. Miller, I said, your pastry skills are incredible. Have you ever considered dedicating them to a single client? Chloe looked confused. Mr. Vance, what do you mean? I mean, I'd like to hire you to be my and my wife's personnel pastry chef. Money was no object. It would make my wife happy and satisfy my own cravings. A win-win. Isabella froze, her spoon hovering over the cake as she stared at me. He wants to hire Chloe. For me? Chloe's face turned bright red. Mr. Vance, that's very sudden. Think about it, I said with a smile. I guarantee the compensation will be far better than what you're making at Aria. I stood up and took Isabella's hand. We finished. Thank you for the meal. As we walked out of the restaurant, Isabella was unusually quiet. What's wrong? You don't want me to hire her? I asked. No, I'm happy. So happy I could fly. That idiot. He finally did something right. Her thoughts were like a kitten batting playfully in my heart. I couldn't help but smile. What are you smiling at? She asked, glancing at me. Nothing. Just thinking. I leaned in and whispered that my wife is really cute. Her entire face turned crimson. Just then my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. I answered it. Hello, is this Ethan? A weak, elderly voice asked from the other end. It's your father. My father? I froze. The original Ethan's father. Old Man Vance. A background character who appeared once at the beginning of the book to sell his son to the Thorne family, then was never heard from again. Why was he calling me now? What do you want? My voice was flat. I'm not going to make it, he rasped, his voice thin and frail. You need to come back. Someone has to inherit the Vance fortune. The Vance family? The family that sold their own son like cattle to climb the social ladder? I scoffed internally. Now you're dying? Where were you before? You didn't seem to have a problem when you were trading your son like property. The family fortune? Who cares? I was about to hang up when he added one more thing. Your brother, Kyle. He's working with outsiders to take over everything. Kyle, the original Ethan's half-brother. A vicious, cruel man who had always despised his older sibling. My brow arched. This was getting interesting. A classic family power struggle. Understand, I said, and hung up. What is it? Isabella asked, noticing my expression. Some family business. The Vance family? Yeah. Isabella fell silent. She knew exactly what that family meant to me. It was the source of all the original Ethan's pain and humiliation. Do you need my help? She asked. Kyle is an idiot, but the people backing him might not be. Is it dangerous for Ethan to go back alone? No. I have to go with him. Her thoughts warmed me. No need, I said, shaking my head and giving her cheek a gentle squeeze. It's a small problem. I can handle it. Please. Kyle was so far out of his league, it wasn't even funny. My team could crush him with a single phone call. You wait for me here. I'll bring you back something tasty. Who wants you to bring them anything? She snapped, but the worry in her eyes didn't fade. Relax, I said, looking her straight in the eye. Trust your husband. The next day, I flew back to the old Vance family estate alone. It was a place that looked glamorous on the outside, but was rotten to the core. When I arrived, the atmosphere in the massive mansion was thick with tension. Kyle was there with a group of thugs, facing off against a few of my uncles. When he saw me, his eyes filled with contempt. Well, look what the cat dragged in. If it isn't the Vance golden boy, how's life as the Thorne's pet, huh? Kyle, that's enough. Ethan is still your brother, one of the uncles scolded. Brother? Kyle laughed as if he'd just heard the world's funniest joke. A piece of trash we sold off? He's not my brother. I ignored him and walked straight past the crowd, up the stairs to the second floor. My father was lying in bed, his face as pale as paper. He was on his way out. When he saw me, a flicker of light returned to his dull eyes. You came back. I'm here. The family. It's all yours now. With those final words, his head lolled to the side, and he was gone. Downstairs, Kyle's triumphant laughter echoed through the house. The old man's dead. From now on, the Vance family belongs to me. I walked slowly down the stairs and looked at him. Is that so? Ethan, you piece of trash, you dare talk back to me? I'll have my men throw you out on your ass. I'll give you one chance, I said, my voice calm, my eyes fixed on him as if he were already a corpse. Get on your knees and apologize. If you do, I'll consider making your death quick. Ha ha. Kyle laughed so hard tears streamed down his face. Did living as Isabella's dog give you brain damage? You and what army? This army. The moment the words left my mouth, the mansion's front doors were kicked open. A group of men in black suits, all of them radiating a dangerous aura, filed into the room. The man in the lead was grim-faced and imposing. My top enforcer, codename, Reaper. Boss. Reaper walked up to me and bowed his head respectfully. Kyle's laughter died in his throat. He and his pathetic crew of thugs looked at the scene before them, their legs turning to jelly. Who are you people? Now, I said, looking at Kyle's ashen face, kneel and apologize. Thud. Kyle dropped to his knees. I didn't even bother to look at him again. I pulled out my phone and dialed Isabella's number. She picked up almost immediately. Hello. Honey, my voice instantly softened. It's all taken care of. I'm in the mood for those short ribs you make. On the other end of the line, I heard a soft, amused scoff. Okay, I'll be waiting. Sunlight streamed through the window, warming my face. My life of leisure. Maybe it wasn't just about being lazy anymore. A beautiful woman by my side, and good food to look forward to. This kind of life was definitely worth the effort. And